Every who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton, but where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and low prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
This episode is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. What do you bring to a holiday party? Simple, a bottle of Casamigos. Because nothing gets the party started like a Casamigos margarita, which isn't just for summer. In fact, it's the perfect pour all year round. Casamigos is the gift that always feels right, because anything goes with my Casamigos. Please drink responsibly. Imported by Casamigos Spirits Company, White Plains, New York. Casamigos Tequila, 40% alcohol by volume.
Hello and welcome to Vulgar History, a feminist women's history comedy podcast. My name is Anne Foster, and this is our Hanukkah special. Tonight, I believe when you're listening to this, it is the fourth night of Hanukkah in 2025. We're talking about a woman, a fantastic, iconoclastic, unconventional Jewish woman who was known only by the name Rochelle, like Zendaya, like Cher. She only needed one name and everybody knew exactly who you were talking about. We aired this 2 years ago, and I'm airing it again this year for a couple reasons. Firstly, because it fits in so well with the season that we did this past year about the French Revolution. So Rochelle lived in Paris just after the French Revolution, and going through her story, we really see what Paris was like after that, which I think is interesting to revisit. Having gone through the whole French Revolution season, we also did an episode this past year about Empress Eugenie, who was married to Napoleon III, who was one of Rochelle's many lovers. I also think that what we all now know and understand about the French Revolution and the mob mentality, I appreciated listening again to just how people reacted to Rochelle and how she really became so popular among the mob. So this episode also just barely fits into our series we're doing right now, the Regency era, because Rochelle was born in February 1821. That was part of the Regency era. So she was, not in England during that exact same time, but I'll allow it. I think that this works with that theme as well. So I just really wanted to revisit this episode at this time of year. During Hanukkah, I like to celebrate and elevate some lesser known Jewish women from history, and Rochelle, I think, is worth discussing over and over again. And we have a very special guest on this episode, which is frequent collaborator Allison Epstein. So when we first recorded this, Allison's book, Fagin the Thief, was just about to come out. Since then, the book has come out. It's been so successful. And so if you haven't yet read Allison's book, Fagin the Thief, you should. What are you waiting for, basically? But anyway, please enjoy this revisit episode, talking all about the one and the only, Rochelle. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vulgar History, feminist women's history comedy podcast hosted by me, Anne Foster. And every year, I've been doing the podcast for 4 years, which is bananas to me to think about. But the years 2020 and 2021 don't count for anyone. So it's really just 2 years. Anyway, I started a tradition of doing a festive tits out holiday spectacular, which when I look back at the people I've discussed in this so far. So the first one was Lettice Knowles. And then the second was Princess Cecilia, the pirate princess from Sweden. Then last year was Doña Gracia Nasi. And when I was looking at this year and who am I going to cover and kind of what is the theme? I do the Halloween specials, which is always just who's a spooky bitch? And I am running out of spooky bitches because for Halloween, I don't want to be and here's a person who's accused of being a witch and then she was murdered at the end. I want it to be a nice story. So I'm running out of things. So I was what am I doing for the holiday spectaculars? And I think it's similar where it's just let's do a story that is tits out, but also nice. I want this to be a nice story because it's a stressful time of year for everybody, even in a non-chaos year of international events. So here's just a nice story you can listen to and just vibe out and just be this person's going to be okay. There's not going to be murders. There's not going to be, I was going to say there's not going to be executions, and there are executions, but not of this person. They're just happening around this person. Anyway, it's a nice story. And the way the timing worked out as well is that this episode is coming out just before the first night of Hanukkah. So it's kind of like tits out, festive holiday, spectacular Hanukkah edition in that way. And also a request that I get suggestions from people. When people ask for requests, sometimes I take that more seriously than a suggestion, because it's like someone has a need, like this is someone's culture and they want to hear that reflected back in the podcast. I'm like, I want to find someone, And so for Jewish people, I've had like requests like, oh, I'd love it if you did more Jewish people on the podcast. I'm like, I would love to. I would love to do more non-British royal white Christians in general. And the challenge in that to me is just like most of the history I have access to as an English-speaking person is white Christian. Well, I mean, just royal people in Western Europe are all Christian, I think. I feel fairly confident in that. Anyway, but then somebody in the Discord who goes by the name Momo, don't know your real name, but Momo, thank goodness for you, because you were like, well, what about Rochelle? And I was like, well, who's Rochelle? And then I read about Rochelle and I'm like, this is amazing. This is like, it's a Jewish person, but it's also like a nice story. So that fits for the festive holiday celebration. And then I was just like, oh no, this is 19th century France. This is not, everyone's called Louis. I don't know what's going on. And that's why I've invited, friend of the podcast, Allison Epstein. Welcome, Allison.
Hello. I am here as the unofficial 19th century France correspondent.
Thank goodness, because even just preparing this, I was like, Allison, this revolution, is this the Les Mis thing? And you're like, no. And then you made a spreadsheet with a flowchart.
I did. I made Anne a flowchart of the Louises just for reference for the sheer number of men in this story named Louis.
And honestly, also named Napoleon, but we'll get to that. I truly did not realize, like I just have done most of the research I've ever done has been about England related things. So I didn't, and I've sort of avoided France partially because they're all called Louis and that's confusing to me. Did not realize how chaotic the 19th century was in France.
It's a fucked up time to be French, I'll tell you what.
There's a lot going on. So this is like the backdrop of the saga we're telling. And so, but can't avoid talking about it because it becomes involved like anyone who's living through world events. Kind of unavoidably. But then also there's the Jewish aspect of this. So Rochelle, the person we're talking about, is a Jewish person. And so you also have done all this research because various reasons, including that your next book is like about, tell people what your next book is about and why you've done this research.
Yes, I've been researching the history of Jewish people in Europe and such for the last several years because I'm working on a book that is a retelling of Oliver Twist from Fagin's perspective. So trying to untangle Dickens's anti-Semitism is what I've been working on. And I'm like, okay, been doing this as historical fiction. I need to know a lot about what it was like to be Jewish in Europe at this time. And if you want to know the most depressing kind of research to do, it's being Jewish in Europe in the 19th century. There's very few good stories in that research. So I am thrilled, Anne, for a happy Jewish 19th century France story.
This is the thing too. And I mean, we're talking specifically about a Jewish person and the Jewish experience today. But in general, when I'm trying to find stories for this podcast, not just for like, like a feel-good story for the holidays, but also in general. And I talked about this when I was talking with Alice Rutkowski about Louisa May Alcott. And she mentioned, Alice did, like, it's hard to be scandalicious or tits out when your family is relying on you for income, when you're a marginalized person, when you're a lower class. It's just like, yeah, like I like to tell stories on this podcast. Like there's so many great podcasts out there that tell stories of heroines and people doing great things. But I tell stories of dirtbags who do stupid things. And
and we love them for it.
And it's harder to find stories like that from somebody who's not the dominant culture, right? In a particular
because you've got
place.
way more leeway if you're the daughter of the king. You can do whatever you want.
Princess Cecilia of Sweden being an excellent example.
The very same.
Yeah. And at the same time, like I have come across stories, the interview, I love, Allison's listened to every episode of Vulgar History, so I can throw stuff out and you're like, yeah, I've heard that. But the interview I did with Nikki Taylor, who wrote her book about like enslaved Black women who killed their employers, there was the one dirtbag who was like an enslaved Black woman in America who would just be like, yeah, I'm going to Bible study. And then she'd like steal the money from the house and go gambling on riverboats.
What a legend.
Like you can be a dirtbag in various ways. It's just, and people were. But my challenge as this podcast host is to find those people. And it's just harder to find them. Anyway, Rochelle. So again, Momo from the Discord group. If you want to join the Discord group, sometimes people are like, you should start a Discord. I'm like, I did. Anyone who joins the Patreon at patreon.com/AnnFosterWriter at the $5 or more level, you get into the Discord and we chat. But you can also recommend things to me in all kinds of ways without joining the Patreon. That just happens to be where I learned about Rochelle. What a gift. So Rochelle. And one of the first things I think I told you, Allison, is that her name is just Rochelle. It's like Cher, Zendaya, just Rochelle.
Iconic.
Which is like right away, I'm like, oh, I'm interested. She's also AKA La Grande Rochelle.
Even better.
Sometimes just La Grande. And sometimes Mademoiselle Rochelle.
I think La Grande Rochelle is the greatest thing a person could ever be called. I will be waiting for a better detail in the story.
So she's French. So which is why I'm pronouncing her name Rochelle. It's spelled Rachel. So to me, it's just like Rachel, which to me is such a everyday name that just so many people have. It's like if you were just like, oh, I'm Allison. It's like when your name's Allison, you can't just go by Allison like that. If your name is Zendaya, sure. But yeah. It's someone just being like, oh,
I'm John. Like, you're going to have to go on.
I know. Yeah. So I love that she's just Rochelle, which I will also mention, and I've told you before when we were doing the Mary Queen of Scots season, you remember there was this servant called French Paris?
I sure do.
And I did have more than one instance where I was fact-checking some stuff, and I just went on the old google.com, and I was like, French Paris. And guess what? Does not come up information about that person. Because guess what? Those words have other meanings that are more common. So I did have that incident at least once, perhaps, no, more than once. When I was researching, I was just like, Rochelle. I was like, date of death. And it's just like, you can't just type in Rachel, like the name Rachel. And this is also where I was like, am I the first podcast that's done an episode about Rochelle? So I was looking up because if you go to Apple Podcasts or whatever, you can do episode search, but I'm just like, how do I search this? I'm like, has anyone done an episode about Rochelle? Let me just type in Rachel. Oh, anyway, so I don't know if anyone's done a podcast about her before. I was typing in La Grande Rochelle, Mademoiselle Rochelle. Anyway, so my main reference for this podcast is a biography that's sort of like an interpretive biography of Rochelle, which is, you know what, the vibes. Of course, that's how she's written about. So anyway, it's a book called Tragic Muse, Rochelle of the Comédie Française. And this is by Rachel Brownstein. And it's the sort of biography where like her experience researching it is part of the narrative. And so she talks about calling up the French archives because she wrote in the 90s. There's not email. And she told them her name was Rachel. And they're like, oh, I see why you're researching this.
I'm laughing, but you did just interview an expert, first of all, because her last name was Foster. So
yes.
Sometimes that is what happens.
Sometimes that is true. And that is part of why Rachel Brownstein was interested in this story. Anyway, so then I also looked at, there's a couple of articles. So there's one by Irina Rabinovich from 2022, unpacking Rachel Felix's constructed and self-constructed Jewishness. And then an article about Rochelle from the Jewish Women's Archive and also from JewishEncyclopedia.com. And all those links will be in the show notes as well. I will say that Rachel Brownstein's book is out of print as a book, but you can acquire it as an ebook or used copies. So, I mean, we're going to get into this, and I just want to, I don't know, anti-Semitism will occur, but this is still a nice story. So, I don't know.
That's fair. It's the 19th century. I think that went implied.
Okay. I don't think trigger warnings are required here, is what I'm saying. So, Rochelle. I've been so excited to tell Allison this story for so long. I keep almost like DMing you the entire story because I just want to tell you. I'm like, no, you have to save it. So I'm just excited to finally be here and able to tell you the story. Rochelle was born February 28th, 1821. A couple things about that date. This was 11 days after the birth of Lola Montez in Ireland.
What a year to be alive.
What was happening astrologically?
They were both born under the sign of messy bitch, and I love that.
I love it. And there's a couple points in this story where I'm going to, I don't know that these two ever encountered each other, but there's points where their stories really paralleled each other. So I feel like what I ended up thinking is this is sort of like in Star Wars, it's like the light and the dark force have to balance. So it's like Lola Montez was born, and so Rochelle had to be born to somehow balance the universe. Or the other important detail is that 2 months and a bit after both of them were born, Napoleon died. So,
yay!
I think you had first suggested that just the combination of the tits out energy of Lola Montez and Rochelle both entering the world, it took a few months to get to St. Helena.
It was a ways away. Yeah, he's near Angola. You gotta wait for the trade winds. But after that,
Yeah.
the sheer energy, he's just like, oh no, two tits out women have been born. I must depart.
He can't stand up to that.
Can't do it.
Okay, so Rochelle. So her name, like eventually she just becomes Rochelle, but I will explain how she got to that point. So her name was she was born to itinerant Jewish peddlers on the roads in Switzerland. So like there wasn't a birth certificate.
Yeah, she was born. We do know that.
We do know that. Later on, the birth certificate was supplied. But anyway, so her name was maybe Elisa/Rochelle or Rochelle/Elizabeth or Dash. So like a hyphenated name, which because her siblings had names that were like that, where it's kind of like an Old Testament name and a New Testament name, or like a Jewish name and a Christian name. Like her sister was called Sophie Sarah, which I think is probably something where it's just like the parents wanted to give them options. You know, it's like to code switch depending where you're going.
Absolutely. I think there's still people who do that now.
Yeah.
Make it get my non-Jewish name out for the paperwork.
Yeah. So her parents, her father was called Jacques, and her mother was Therese Esther Chaya, triple names. And their last name was Felix, so Felix, which is a French. You're also here as somebody who knows French a bit more than me.
A bit. I knew a lot of French 5 years ago.
So Felix is a French name/word that means basically like happiness.
Mm-hmm. It's Latin for like luck, right?
Yeah. And so the Jewish last name, Baruch, has the same meaning.
Yeah.
So chances are their last name was Baruch, and then they changed it to Felix to be like, I don't know if there's, all this stuff. Like Napoleon or somebody was like, Jewish people can be citizens, but you have to have French names. So like maybe at that point they changed it.
We'll translate our own names into Latin languages.
Yeah.
Just to be safe. Yeah.
So, and this is part of where it's like she became just Rochelle. It's like, yeah, like what did her last, like,
yeah.
I don't think she was ever really committed to this as a last name to begin with. Anyway, so her parents, Jacques and Therese Esther Chaya, were Jewish peddlers who sold secondhand clothes from a wagon they used as both home and warehouse. She was born on the road, basically literally in Switzerland, in the Swiss town of Mumpf, which is spelled Mumpf.
Spelled like it sounds.
Mumpf. So Switzerland at this point, so 1821, somewhat risky territory for Jewish peddlers because they were legally barred from residing or establishing businesses in the country. But her mother was in labor, and so she had to be born. And so there were some shitty biographies written about her in the early 20th century. In the Rachel Brownstein book, she's just kind of like, well, here's what might have happened. But like a weird combination of like glorification of her, but also this kind of like, look how Jewish she was. So some of the stories of her birth really sound like the nativity story in the sense of like it's these Jewish husband and wife, and she has to have a baby, but there's no room at the inn. But instead of like Herod is doing a census or whatever, it's like Jewish people aren't allowed to go into inns. So anyway.
I mean, yeah.
But then there was a whole thing about like she was born, and then at some point she might have like fallen out of the wagon, and then she was saved by this dog, and or maybe she was saved by like a lot of this stuff was like retroactively trying to show like, and this is why she became such a legendary person. So these weird biographies like really mythologized her birth to show like she was destined. I think it was something like a French person caught her falling off the wagon, and that was like how they knew that she would be the savior of all of France. Spoiler. And
seems like the guy who caught the baby should be the savior of all of France. Like, quick hands Jacques over there.
Either a dog or a French person saved her.
If a dog's catching babies, I want to talk to the dog, not the baby.
Yeah, true. Okay, so there was also 4 other siblings born. So she had an older sister, Sophie Sarah, and then she had 4 other siblings. Raphael, 1 name. Rebecca, 1 name. Adelaide Leah, 2 names. And Melanie Dinah. So I feel like all of them, like the names are flexible. The names are like guidelines. Okay, so her dad, Jacques. This is where it gets like, the people in this story are dirtbags. And then the way that they're talked about sometimes is anti-Semitic. And so I'm trying to be like, here's what they're like. And I don't know. So her dad was kind of a shitty stage dad type energy.
Mm-hmm.
He was also a grifter because you got it. Like, if he's a hustler, like if he's just like, I'm selling secondhand clothes out of a wagon that I also live in, it's like, yeah, he's going to be.
You know what's not going to make you a lot of money? Selling a bunch of secondhand clothes on the streets where the only thing that's going on is a dog catches babies sometimes. A guy's got to hustle.
No, exactly. So he's like got a lot of strategies to make money. He's like multiple entrepreneurship, which can be interpreted as being like, oh, he's money hungry or whatever. It's like, no, he's just
No,
like,
he would like enough money to feed his 5 to 6 children.
yeah,
Probably.
yeah, exactly. So he's like, he's hustling, and it's like, of course he was, because otherwise they would all die. Anyway, so he realized, so they're just like, the family's doing everything they can to make money. And one of the things is that Sophie, Sarah, and Rochelle would go out on the streets, and Sophie, Sarah would play a guitar, and then Rochelle would sing, and they would make money like busking, basically. But then he was like, wait a minute. And this is kind of like, I'm going to guess you haven't read Britney Spears' memoir, The Woman in Me.
Not yet. It is on my TBR, though.
It's really good. It's like really interesting and well written. But kind of like Britney Spears' father, he was like, wait a minute. My daughter, Rochelle, is actually talented. Like, I can make money from this.
Yeah.
So the family went to Lyon, Lyons.
Lyon, yeah.
Lyon, France.
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 Maybe.
Where there was a pre-existing Jewish community of people. And so so this is, I don't know, 1830 or something by now. But since 1791, I wanted to mention this. So the French Revolution happened, and there was like the Republic and everything. And as part of that, in 1791, 3 kinds of people were allowed to be French citizens that weren't before. And those types of people were Jewish people, Protestants, and actors.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah. This comes up because Rochelle is going to be an actor, obviously.
Yep.
And this is where the article I read just recently, like I put these notes together, then I found another article that was helpful. The one by Irina Rabinovich was talking about, so for Rochelle, like just in terms of being like marginalized from society, it's like she's a woman and she's Jewish and she's an actor. It's like
3 strikes.
That's a lot. That's extra level up in terms of just like the challenges of her daily life. But as we'll see, she crushes it. So anyway, one day, Rochelle and Sophie Sarah were out playing guitar and singing on the street. They were like ages 8 and 10 or something like that. And side note, as an adult, Rochelle would proudly display a guitar in her home and say, this was the guitar that I was playing when I was a young urchin. And then she sold it for a lot of money to one of her lovers. Knowing Rochelle and just her family's ability to just like find a way to make money. And I don't mean that in an anti-Semitic way. I mean that,
Listen, as someone who has been researching Jewish dirtbags for years, you don't worry about it.
Okay. I just want everybody to know, like, she and her family are like really good, like the Kardashians. Like, they just find an opportunity in everything. And so I feel like Rochelle, where she's like, oh yes, that's the guitar I played when I was a child.
It was not, bitch. That's just a guitar you found in a secondhand shop somewhere. And you're like, yes, yes.
As soon as she sold it, she would replace it with another one and then sell that one.
100%.
That's the vibe. Anyway, so one day, so she and her sister, and they were maybe singing close to like brothels or like whatever. I don't know. Like a lot of so this is part of where like a kind stranger was like, oh wow, like look at these like talented young girls. I need to rescue them from this life of singing outside of brothels.
I mean, fair. That's not great for an 8-year-old.
No, but it does have a bit of this guy who like discovered them. Like the vibe is a bit of like white savior, because it's like how much like their life was not amazing, but how much was he just like, oh, I must save these young ethnic children. But also he was just like, oh shit, this is like a young Britney Spears, like this Rochelle, like, oh my gosh, like this is.
Yeah. Maybe I can stage manage this precocious 8-year-old.
And guess what? Yeah. So anyway, so the guy who discovered them was this Parisian musician / educator named Etienne Coron. And he was like, these 2 girls should attend my acting school in Paris. And so the family went to Paris in 1831. This is 1 year after the July Revolution had installed a guy called Louis Philippe as king of the French.
Yes. This is why you brought me onto the podcast.
So there was the French Revolution.
There was. This was in 1789.
Yeah.
So that was about, what is that, 40 years ago? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, 1831. Yeah. So 40 years ago, there was the French Revolution in which Marie Antoinette was killed. All the shit went down. Guillotines.
And her husband, who was the king, but whatever.
Yeah.
Mostly Marie Antoinette.
Her husband, yeah.
Yes. And so, like, that was the French Revolution. And there was a period of about, 10, 15 years where they were like, okay, let's try to figure out what it would be like to have a republic. Let's try to create some kind of a parliament. Let's do our best to, ride this democracy thing out. And then, as we all know, Napoleon said, however, I could be the emperor. That sure would be easier for everybody involved. And Napoleon was emperor for a cool decade in the middle there.
And then this is then after he died.
So Napoleon was exiled for the actual final time in 1815. So still 15 years before all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they're like, okay, we don't have an emperor. We don't have a parliament. We got to find somebody else to be in charge of France again. And the monarchists who were like, things sure were better before we had the French Revolution, were like, okay, we're going to put another king.
So they're they're looking at the family tree on a scroll. They're just like, this guy's dead. This guy's, who's the, this guy, Louis Philippe. So he's not directly.
Well, we didn't get to Louis Philippe quite yet. I'm so sorry. But first they went to Louis the 16th younger brother.
Okay.
They were like, let's just go to directly next guy in line as if this were all just done.
Sorry,
right?
I was confused because everyone is called Louis.
This is a different Louis. This is Louis the 18th, younger brother of Louis the 16th, not Louis Philippe. Can you believe those are three different men?
How could I not keep track of that? That's so straightforward.
So, French Revolution, guillotined king. His younger brother is king for a while.
Okay.
Then he dies. And his brother, Charles, becomes king. Charles is king in 1830. Charles is extremely unpopular. Nobody likes Charles. And he tries to deal with this lack of popularity by cracking down on journalists and public assembly and freedom of speech and stuff. And the French are like, well, we just had a revolution 40 years ago. Sir, we can do it again. So they take to the streets, they make barricades, they yell at the king, and the king, who would prefer not to get guillotined like his older brother, Louis the 16th, runs away with his son. And they're like, absolutely not. We're going to go live. He goes to England for a while. He actually lives in Holyrood Palace for a little while, which I thought was dope.
Where Rizzio was murdered.
The very same.
Okay.
So he's traveling Europe, and now they have to find somebody else. And so that's where Louis Philippe comes up. He's like...
This is where you unfurl the scroll. And
you unfurl the scroll, and you go all the way back up the French family tree, back to, they're going grandfathers up to Louis XIV, who was the Sun King, famously known to be extremely fancy and extravagant and had loads of mistresses. He was the one in the affair of the poisons, if you remember.
Oh, we're going to talk about him in a bit, yeah.
Wonderful. Because if you go back up the family tree of the French to Louis XIV, he had legitimate sons that got all of those other Louises. And then he had a famous mistress, Madame de Montespan, who, if you remember from the La Voisin episode, was the mistress who tried to murder a bunch of babies in a black magic ritual to make the king fall in love with her. Allegedly.
Yeah. Not allegedly.
I mean, I think it would have, yes.
That's canon on this podcast.
That is canon. That is a historical fact.
Mm-hmm.
So she and Louis XIV had their own line of descendants, and Louis Philippe is descended from her.
Okay. Is he the one who's called the Citizen King?
Yes. Because he was not he's way off there on the fucking family tree. You have to throw a dart to catch him on the family tree. So he's just one of the guys. He's just one of the people. He's not. He's a direct descendant of the king. But that's how they were trying to market him, because the French were very upset with kings at this point. But that's the July Revolution.
In terms of what you just said, I need to tell everybody, because I'm in Canada, Commonwealth country. On our currency is the monarch of Great Britain. And it was just released what the Charles coins are going to look like. Barf. And it's like Charles, but he's wearing not a crown. It's his like profile, his face profile. He's wearing not a crown, and he's wearing, you can tell just from like the bust, like a suit. So it's like, well, that just looks like some guy. Like the queen on the coins, she's wearing like pearls and a crown. It's just like, well, that looks like a queen. This just looks like you put some guy on my money. People are saying they're going to call him the Chuck Buck.
It's the citizen king of the present day.
Well, and that's one theory, I think, is that he wants to be like, I'm not like the old king, I'm a cool king, where it's like, okay, so you're on my coin not wearing a crown, but you're still on my coin. Like,
exactly. Yes. This is exactly what it was like.
Yeah, the citizen king is like, I'm not like the other kings, I'm a cool king. It's like, but you're still
a king.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Louis Philippe. Like, listeners, this is why Allison is here. She's going to explain stuff. But like Rochelle, we love her, but she's living in this time of like rapid turnover of who is in charge of France. And it becomes very pertinent to her life. So at this point, she's a little girl going to acting school, a little child star. So she and her family settled in Paris in the Marais district, which was like the Jewish neighborhood. And I think still is the Jewish neighborhood.
It's real bougie now.
Oh, is it?
Like,
yeah.
It's very expensive to live there now. It did not used to be, because that's how gentrification works.
They lived across the street from the morgue.
Well,
Rochelle and her family.
I bet you people were just dying to get in there. And
Ching.
Sorry.
So anyway, she and her sister Sophie Sarah attended this Etienne's school for like child stars or whatever. And they were trained in acting and music. And so this is like very important. And this is, I don't know what your background is on this, but I'm hoping you know something about it, which is the tradition of classical drama in France. Do you know anything about that?
Probably not, but I am willing to try.
Okay, so at this time, one of the most popular sorts of plays to be performed were plays about Napoleon.
Okay. That's why I don't know anything about it, because I refuse to learn.
I love that this episode is coming out around the same time that movie Napoleon is coming out. So this is like, anyway. France was like, Napoleon had only just died like 10 years ago, and they're all just like, they're already like, that's retro, like Napoleon vintage. They're just like, remember Napoleon was the emperor? It's like, you kicked him out.
Well, they've had 4 kings since then. Like, It's been a busy time.
So they're like, in retrospect, was he so bad?
Yes, he was.
So plays about Napoleon were really popular at the time. Did this imprint on Rochelle in some ways? We'll talk later about her psychology and her choice of lovers. Anyway, plays in general were really popular. And this is kind of the first time in France, potentially in anywhere, where performers became celebrities and stars. Like when we're talking about like your first book, like Kit Marlowe and like William Shakespeare times, which is England, not France. But it's just like, oh, they're the players, they're the actors, but they weren't like feted by
they were like,
society.
No one wanted to associate with them. They were like,
So this is where a couple things, like I mentioned, Rochelle, woman, Jewish, actor, like she slid in, like she was born in exactly the right time to like make a go of things, because actors were starting to become wealthy celebrities who could hang out with the aristocracy. And also Jewish people had more rights than they ever had before in France, ? So good timing on her part to be born under the Lola Montez moon. So
on the side of the road next to a dog.
Like Jesus. No room at the inn. Okay, so at around this time, there's something like 9,000 Jewish people in Paris, which is 3 times as many as there had been a couple decades before. Like Jewish people were coming there because it's like, guess what? Change your last name, you can be a citizen. Napoleon had in fact appointed some sort of government, like self-government for Jewish people. So this like encouraged Jewish people, like intentionally, he wanted immigration from Jewish people to come to France, and more of them did. And then kind of developed like a neighborhood. And so the general aim of the Jewish community in Paris was to retain religious identity while attaining social assimilation. So they were not under pressure officially to like convert, and they were allowed to sort of like have your like Jewish neighborhood. So remember how only recently Jewish people and actors were allowed to be citizens? So the way that both were treated, like their rights were really similar, actors and Jewish people. So both actors and Jews were denied Christian marriage and burial.
Okay. One of those makes sense.
I don't know, somehow a lot of Jewish people started entering the theater community. Maybe because it's like, well,
None of us can get buried, so we pay as well.
I don't know. It's like, well, it's not going to change what we can or can't do. Our rights are the same as actors, so let's all be actors. So Jewish actresses and models became like trendy at this time when Rochelle is coming of age. So it's like this is setting the stage for her to succeed in this really interesting, unanticipated to me way of just like, you know what's really hot right now? Jewish actresses. Like, what? Okay.
She's like, guess what?
Guess who I am? Okay, so she's in like child star acting school in France. So 1834, she's like 13. An American actor named Edwin Forrest was just like around, and there was like a showcase for like emerging young talent. And he saw her and he wrote this, like not later, knowing how famous she would be. At the time he wrote, okay, and I need to just make it clear to everybody that Rochelle was like very thin because of starvation reasons. It's similar to what I've read about Audrey Hepburn, who like during World War II, she was so undernourished that she just became really thin and then just was really thin the rest of her life. Like it affects you in a lifelong way when you're starvation living. Anyway, so Rochelle was always a very, very, very small, thin person. I want to preface this because Edwin Forrest wrote, that little bag of bones.
Rude.
With the marble face and flaming eyes is how he described her. And he says in her, he could see demonical power. If she lives and does not burn out too soon, she will become something wonderful. And this is not dissimilar to how people talked about her as an actor. Her acting was so intense. And I don't know, I was trying to think of someone to compare her to, and I can't because it's just like she was so intense with acting that everyone was just like, holy shit, oh my God. like all I can think of is to compare it to like a singer who's really powerful or something. Like
yeah,
her intense, like she's this little tiny person, but she's so intense that everyone's just like, huh, like as we're going to see. That's her style. It's just tiny but intense. So when she was age 15, she left acting school to go make a go of it. Her dad was her manager. And so she went to the Théâtre Molière, where she received additional training. And then she was admitted to the prestigious Conservatoire. And then she soon left the Conservatoire for higher paying work at the Théâtre de la Gymnase, which looks like the theater of gymnastics, but it's not.
I was going to say, it looked like the gym theater. That's okay. Which is, by the way, is what we had in my middle school, which is the theater was just a little stage at the very far end of the gym underneath the basketball hoop. So that's what I'm going to think.
Yeah, sort of like the cafetorium. Yeah.
Exactly.
Basically, she's going place to place learning theater acting training. And I think I write about this later, but I'll describe it to you now. When I say she's getting theater acting training, she's being trained in the classical repertoire, which is like the plays that were popular when Louis the Sun King was around. These are plays that all glorify France. And it's like the national French identity are these plays, which are very old-fashioned and not very popular, but it's like the official theater of France. So this is what, and they're trained in, it's like, here's how you say your lines, and here's this specific, you're trained in like, you learn the like hand movements. So it's like every time you see these plays performed by anyone, they're doing the same hand movements as someone 100 years ago doing the same part.
That's wild.
Yeah. So it's like frozen in amber, like acting like it's 1640 or whatever.
Yeah.
So like this is the training she's receiving. It's like very specific to perform only these plays in this specific way. But what she brings to it is intensity. Anyway, so then later she began, so this is like, she's like 15. By the time she's 16, she's taking private lessons with a guy called Joseph Isidore Sampson, who I mentioned is 43 at the time. Just because.
And also the Phantom of the Opera, I'm assuming, based on the way the story's going.
He lives in the sewers.
Yeah.
The Phantom of the Cafetorium, yes. So there's a lot of like older men father figure type people in her life, which some of the other biographies that were written closer to when she was alive were like, well, surely she was just their pawn. She was their puppet. Like these men with ambitions were like using her, where it's just like, or was she just like so weirdly God level talented that they all just wanted to be her manager and make money? Like it's a Britney Spears situation. Anyway, so Samson. So he became, it's kind of like there's Samson and then there's her dad. And they were often compared like by, she's going to become famous very shortly. So this is why I'm saying like everyone knew about them. But it's like they were portrayed as sort of like rivals to manage her for control over her career. Samson versus her dad, which is going to heat up. Anyway, when she's 17, she signs a contract at the most prestigious institution of the French stage, the Comédie Française. This is the official state theater where Samson himself was an actor. And so she signed on as like a pensionnaire, which basically means, okay, I'll explain this. So this is France's principal stage company, created in 1680 by Louis XIV. Is that right?
That sounds right.
I don't know. Was that the Sun King? 14th?
Yes. 14th was the Sun King.
That guy. So anyway, and he invented it to preserve the great dramatic works written during his reign.
Yes, that's the thing the Sun King would do, correct.
Yeah, it's like the greatest plays of all time are the ones written for me.
For me, about me, while I was watching.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's why it's like, do these plays exactly the same for the rest of time. Only these plays, and act them in this way. So these tragedies were written in rhyming verse of 12 syllables, following the rules of art invented by Aristotle in ancient Greece. So the plays were based usually on classical mythical stories. So it's like Clytemnestra and I don't know, all those people that people are writing novels about now, those Medea, like all those things.
Yeah.
So all these sorts of stories. And the plays all had a minimum of togas, a minimum of characters, a maximum of togas. Everyone wore togas. I sent you a number of pictures of Rochelle, Allison.
Yes, I was going to ask you why she was in togas in all of them, and now I feel like I know. Sort of.
So these plays, they're just, everyone does these hand gestures. They say these lines in exactly the same way, and they wear togas all the time, which is where, I'll post a bunch of pictures on Instagram too, but like Rochelle herself, in all her portraits, she's wearing a toga. In the like political cartoons of her, it's like, how will they know it's Rochelle? We'll put her in a toga. Like, she did wear regular clothes when she wasn't performing. But when she was performing, all togas.
Togas are best.
Togas. And you know what? Comfortable, like a muumuu, sure.
Honestly, if I could wear a toga to work, I would.
Exactly. Okay, so each of the actors working for the Comédie Française specialized in a certain type of character because the plays were just like, here's the hero and here's the ingenue. It's like, so the same actor would always play the same sort of role, which is, yeah, so the same way that it's like, and they would do these hand gestures and it's all very like, here's the rules and this is what we follow.
Very formulaic.
Okay, so after the French Revolution, the first one, the main one, so before, these plays were only allowed to be performed at the Comédie Française, but after the French Revolution, they're like, Republic, anyone can perform these plays.
Theater for the people, but still do the same hand gestures.
Yes. But the actors at the Comédie Française were recognized as the best in France. And so this is like the ultimate place you wanted to go. And also for actors, you wanted to go there because at the Comédie Française, you had to share in the decisions and profits of the company. It was kind of a union. They paid into a pension for retired members. At the other theaters, like you were treated not that well. So this is like the ultimate place you want to go. And she got there age 17. Like she was signed on as a pensionnaire. Like she was paying into the
union.
The union, pension fund, like.
She's got her equity card. She's ready to go.
No, she's good. And this is where they were like, what is your name and age? And she's like, I don't have a birth certificate. I was born on the road in Mumph. So this is where like she and her father like made up a birth certificate, but this is where it's like, is that when she was born? Is that what her name was when she was born? But they needed something because there's a whole thing also about like, is she underage or not? Oh, that's coming up. Anyway, so Napoleon. This is another reason I brought you onto this episode, Allison.
Okay.
He is dead, but he looms large.
Okay.
So there was like, during his time as emperor, he was a fan of the hand gestures and the togas.
Well, of course, because that was ancient France when it was powerful and great.
Yeah.
Like him.
So it was this genre had like a bit of a revival under him, but then he went into exile. It went out of fashion because like, yeah, if someone now was like, I perform plays as they were done in 1862, it would be like, no one wants to see that. But suddenly these tragedies became the most popular thing in France because of Rochelle. So she's 17 years old. She made her debut at the Comédie Française that June 1838. And then a couple months later, that September, the influential theater critic Jules Janin saw her perform for the first time and wrote 2 rave reviews. And then suddenly, box office ticket sales increased drastically. He was just like, this bag of bones.
She's so intense.
I can't, like, her performances, you know, there's like portraits of her and photographs, but like the way that everyone writes about her performance is just like, I don't know what to compare it to. I don't know. Like I keep saying Britney Spears, but it's like someone just coming out of nowhere and being so good at something. It's like maybe, I don't know, like within my lifetime, like Lady Gaga just suddenly appeared and it was like, where did she? And she was also like not a child star before. Like someone who just arrives and is so freakishly good. I don't know. Rochelle, just like, there's no one like Rochelle. Marilyn Monroe, maybe? Like she just, anyway. So as soon as these reviews came out, everyone was just like, we all need to go see Rochelle. And it was like rich people, poor people, like the Jewish people wanted to support her. Like everyone was just going to the theater to see her do the hand gestures. They're all just like, Rochelle, this teenage bag of bones. Anyway, she was so successful that the theater gave her a golden wreath, which is a thing that the theater Comédie Française gave to their most successful stars. Citizen King Louis Philippe came to see her perform. He personally complimented her for bringing back classical French tragedy. As a gift, he gave her a library of the classics.
Okay. She's like, thanks. Money would have been better.
Yeah. She's like, could I have another like beat up guitar that I could sell on eBay?
Could she read? Do you know?
Yes. And now for a quick advertising break. Oh, hello. You may have heard of HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit in America that makes home cooking easier with chef-crafted recipes and fresh ingredients delivered straight to your door. You might have heard me say that I like to get my food from them, and that's true, and I do. And here's a couple of reasons why I'm really happy to get HelloFresh, especially this time of year. So they've got lots of options. They've doubled their menu from what they used to have. So this is like, we're talking 100 different options each week, which for like a picky person like myself is huge. Maybe you're a picky person. Maybe you live with somebody who's a picky person. You can have different options. You can try all these kinds of meals, find which ones are your favorite. And these include new seasonal dishes and recipes from around the world. That's right. They have new recipes from their global street eats kitchen featuring local favorites from around the world, which I love that, you know? I'm living here in a place in North America where it's cold, so I like to eat food and imagine that I'm somewhere else, warmer and not here. The food is also healthier than it used to be, so we're talking 15 plus high protein recipes each week. They also help you eat greener with new veggie-packed recipes that have 2 or more veggies per dish. And in fact, do you have children? 3 out of 4 parents say their kids eat more veggies with HelloFresh because it's so good, because like everything is a part of the same meal, and they kind of like, the vegetables are included and they're kind of hidden a little bit, which I find also helpful for myself. These meals are also tastier than they used to be. You can get steak and seafood recipes delivered every week for no extra cost. There's 3 times the seafood options that there used to be. What I'm talking about is like, it's bigger, it's better, and honestly, when it's cold outside, do you want to go to the grocery store, haul home all these bags? I don't. Are you going on holiday? This is my pro tip. If you join HelloFresh and then schedule it so when you come back from your holiday, the box is there, then you don't have to go grocery shopping when you're all jet lagged. It all works out really well for everybody. Anyway, so the best way to cook just got better. Go to hellofresh.com/vulgarhistory10fm now to get 10 free meals and a free breakfast for life. 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's hellofresh.com/vulgarhistory10fm to get 10 free meals and free breakfast for life. And just to clarify, it's vulgarhistory10fm. You don't write out the word 10. Anyway, Vulgar History, HelloFresh, match made in heaven.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies just to see if you could save some cash? Well, Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states. What if I told you that 2026 is the year you launch your business? Maybe you've got an idea you just can't shake, or that hobby that everyone in your life is telling you to sell. Taking that first step and finally taking action can feel impossible. But with Shopify, all you need to turn your dreams into your new future is at your fingertips. Make 2026 the year you transform into the entrepreneur, founder, and boss you were meant to be. And the one powerful move to make it all happen is starting your business with Shopify. Shopify gives you everything you need to sell online and in person, giving you all the tools to easily build your dream store. Choose from hundreds of beautiful templates that you can customize to match your brand. And you can set up quickly with Shopify's built-in AI tools that will help you write product descriptions and headlines, as well as edit product photos. Millions of entrepreneurs have already made this leap, from household names like Gymshark and Mattel to first-time business owners just getting started. Marketing is built in too. You can create email and social campaigns within Shopify to reach customers wherever they are. And as you grow, Shopify grows with you. The same dashboard that you start with will evolve as your business does to handle more orders and expand to new markets. In 2026, stop waiting and start selling with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/realm. Go to shopify.com/realm. That's shopify.com/realm. Hear your first this new year with Shopify by your side.
When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite, obey your thirst.
And we're back. Oh, God. Okay, so there's a thing about the weird, but again, I have to emphasize, I didn't read these books, but Rachel Brownstein talks about them. The weird early 1900s biographies that were just like Rochelle was this like child Jesus person. Like apparently as a young toddler, she spontaneously recited the Ballad of the Wandering Jew.
Okay.
Like that sort of.
Yeah.
I think her parents in their like van/home had books, and I think she read them as a girl. But then also for sure, like she went to acting school and she learned to read there. She was immediately acclaimed as the most amazing actress ever to perform these roles. And suddenly the plays were popular again because of her. 17 years old, intensity. So, and that's the thing. So it's like she's performing these rhyming scripts of these old-fashioned plays using these generational hand movements, but her passion suddenly made them interesting and vital, and people cared again. Because there wasn't a lot of room for her to like change things. Like she had to perform it in this way, but her passion, she was visibly racked by her performances. Like she was really performing her little heart out, 17 years old. I just want to emphasize that because this is wild. So her dad and Samson fought over who would oversee her career because she was making so much money for the theater. So during an argument between them about the dad wanted more money for Rochelle and himself. So at this point, she had made 200,000 francs in 6 months for the company. And so he was like, the dad reasonably was like, you're cost sharing. Like, I love your union and your pension, but like, shouldn't Rochelle get paid a bit more since she's the only reason anyone is coming?
That's a lot of money. I'm bad at conversion rates, but like that's a lot of money.
200,000 francs in like the 19th century? Like,
yeah.
So I think it's like what I was thinking is like, you know, the Taylor Swift Eras tour.
Yes.
It's like Taylor Swift is making more money than the backup dancers because if she wasn't there, no one would go.
It's profit sharing, but it doesn't have to be equal profit sharing.
Yeah.
If you are the one who's doing all the work.
So anyway, so Samson was like, oh, but when you signed the contract when she was 15, you said that she would do equal profit sharing. And then Samson threw the dad down a flight of stairs.
Oop.
So then the dad took Samson to court and he won because the contract Rachel had signed as a minor was invalid because she was a minor. But that's where it's like, well, how old was she? When was she born? Like when you gave the birth certificate, what year did you write on it? And was that intentional? Anyway.
Well, good for the dad, because I would sue anyone who threw me down a flight of stairs.
Yeah. Well, and also it's like, and this is all portrayed in the press at the time being like, oh, Rochelle and her dad, they're so money hungry because they're Jewish. It's like, no, they're just people who want to be paid for their work. Like, so there's a lot of this sort of stuff throughout her life. Anyway, Rochelle also wanted to maximize her income, basically by performing in like the suburbs of Paris, like at other theaters. Samson was like, that like degrades the sanctity of the Comédie Française.
Oh, shut up, sir.
Yeah. And she's just like, I am making a lot of money, so fuck you. What are you going to do without me? Like, do you want me to be in your company? Then you also have to let me do this, basically. But being part of the company meant you only got so many days or weeks off per year to tour. So that sort of got in the way of her doing other performances. She was also encouraged to distance herself from her family and therefore from her Jewish roots, but she never did. And she was always very loyal to her family, and she never changed her religion, even though people were constantly trying to make her do that.
Good for her.
Yeah. She gave generously to her family. At one point, she bought her sister Sophie Sarah a fully furnished home.
I love that. That's like what everyone says they're going to do. Like, you're going to buy my mom a house.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Well, I love buying her a home that was furnished, you know?
Yeah.
Like, she could just walk in the door and live there. It's not, yeah. She also always helped support her mother. At one point, she went on a tour around England, and a duchess gave her a shawl, and then she gave the shawl to her mom. Like, she was always really giving back to her family in a really genuine way, which I like to see, because like they grew up in this caravan with nothing, and she was always grateful to them and taking care of them. She was also, next time any of us is asked, like, if you're throwing a dinner party, who do you invite? Rochelle. So she was hilarious, witty, clever, and fun to be around. This is also a specific time and place where, because of the like Republican ideals or something, it was like people were inherently the station that they were, by which I mean Rochelle carried herself with gravitas and with importance because of she doing the acting, and I'm sure her posture was like wild. But she seemed like a rich, important person, and they're like, yes. And because of humanism, we believe that she is. Even though she was born poor, she's allowed to be elevated into these aristocratic spaces. So a generation ago, they would have been like, no, you can't come in here. You're Jewish, you're poor. But now they're like, no, people are inherently who they are. So.
Right. And it's been such a tumultuous time, like the last 40 years, in regards to like who's in charge and who's important and who's not important, that I really feel like humanism was just them throwing up their hands, being like, we don't know. Let's try it. See what happens. Like, it's the perfect time for her to be.
No, exactly. And France versus England, because in England, that was not the vibe. But in France, it was. So she was elevated, but then also she was so funny and witty, and like at dinner parties, everybody loved her. I didn't write any of them down because they did not make sense to me, but there's various jokes that people reported that she made, and maybe in French they were funny. But
maybe in French they were funny 200 years ago. Probably doesn't translate real well.
These hand gestures, yeah, exactly. Like the jokes were the same. Anyway, so she was just like a cool person that everybody enjoyed. She was like very pleasant. And then when she acted, she was so intense.
So much.
I don't know. Katharine Hepburn, maybe. Like, I'm just trying to think of like someone who like has this kind of like weird energy. Okay, 1840. I'm not sure what's happening vis-a-vis the world. Oh, Louis Philippe still citizen king.
There.
Yeah.
He's got a couple more years, spoiler.
Okay, 1840. Napoleon's body was returned to Paris, and there's this big funeral march thing to be like, he died in exile, but now retro vintage Napoleon fans are like, we like him again. Let's celebrate his death.
Let's get him back from that tiny island where the wallpaper killed him, and let's bury him ostentatiously somewhere in Paris.
Yeah, so there's this big...
We like him now.
Exactly. Mary Shelley was in town at this point, I just wanted to mention, but she had to miss the funeral because it was too cold and snowy for her liking. But she wrote, like, I know I missed like a thing that would have been cool, but it was cold, so I didn't go. And this is the first of many vulgar history cameos of people in the story. Anyway, so Napoleon's body, I guess, was on St. Helena this whole time?
Yeah, they buried him because he died.
Okay. So,
and then they were like, oh, no, now we'll bring him back.
Okay, so I'm going to just foreshadow something. So his body was returned by Louis Philippe's, one of his sons, the Prince of Joinville, who was a guy who was like a military captain, but he had a beard, even though military captains weren't allowed to have beards. But he was Louis Philippe's son, so he's allowed to have a beard. Anyway, and he was among the procession. I mean, I won't even foreshadow. Spoiler, he is soon to become Rochelle's lover, the Prince of Joinville.
This man with a beard.
Yes. And this is, do you remember in the Catalina de Arauso episode, I think you started doing a tally of how many cousins she kept running into? Yeah. I think here we're going to need to keep a tally of how many lovers who are Napoleon adjacent.
Okay. I will keep track on a little piece of scratch paper.
This is one. The Prince of Joinville is one, because he was the one who recovered the body and was in the procession. Anyway, so this same year, oh my God, this is part of where I was just like, Rochelle, I'm obsessed. So there's a list on her Wikipedia page of just like every role she ever played around this time. So she's, 18 at this point. She played Mary, Queen of Scots.
Yes.
in a play that was like Mary Queen of Scots versus Elizabeth. She played Mary Queen of Scots because she always, later on, she played Fredegund in a play of Fredegund and Brunhild.
Incredible.
Yeah, I was like, she played what? I was like, wait, Fredegund? Does that French name mean what?
Is that my Fredegund?
Fredegund?
It was.
She played Cleopatra. I was just like, she's doing all the tits out ladies from my podcast. But I love that she was in this play, Mary Queen of Scots and Elizabeth, and she played Mary. Like, she was in Fredegund and Brunhild, and she played Fredegund. Like, she was the roles I would want.
On the side of vulgar history.
Yes. Vulgar history coded. Anyway, so then she was invited to perform in London. So she went there to do like 5 performances. Because remember, she only has like a certain amount of time she's allowed to be away from the Comédie Française. She went there to do 5 performances, all of which sold out. She was basically the same age as Queen Victoria, by the way. Queen Victoria was like 2 years older than her, and she just barely become queen. Queen Victoria loved her. She invited Rochelle to dine and perform at Windsor Castle and gave her an engraved bracelet that said something like, from Victoria to Rochelle.
Thanks, Victoria.
But in French. So it's like Victoria à Rochelle was in the bracelet. So I just picture like Taylor Swift friendship bracelets.
Yes.
The Duke of Wellington. Is that from Napoleon, the Battle of Waterloo?
Yes. He's the one who beat Napoleon. He's a very tiresome man, but he did beat Napoleon. So shout out to him for that.
He had such a crush on Rochelle.
Oh.
And France was like, ha ha ha, France rules. Like, look, the Duke of Wellington defeated Napoleon, but now Rochelle has defeated the Duke of Wellington.
I love that for her.
Yeah.
Yes. Great.
So basically she conquered England, even though not everyone there understood French, but they still were just like, her intensity transcends language. She's so intense. Okay, so then she had this other lover whose name is, he's not Napoleon adjacent. He's just some guy. He's one of these like old men father figures who I think were maybe all her lovers. Lovers, quote unquote. Anyway, this one guy, Dr. Véron, for some reason, he was just being hilarious at a dinner party. Like, they had written some like sexy letters back and forth, and he read some letters from her at a dinner party. And so she was like, remember, a teenager. And so immediately her reputation went from like Rochelle, this like chaste virgin role model, to like whore.
John Knox's ghost from the wings of the Mary Queen of Scots play. It's yelling.
Absolutely. So again, like it's, I don't know, like I just kind of like Britney Spears. It's like she went from like this like virgin to this whore. But Rochelle, like Britney Spears, was like, okay, I can vibe with this. So she's like, okay, I'll just be like a femme fatale now, which I already was. So moving on. So this like affair of the letters was like a huge deal in the newspaper. It was like, Rochelle, oh my God, she wrote sexy letters. Like, ah.
She's like, you haven't seen anything yet. You want sexy letters.
Absolutely. Queen Victoria was like, doesn't bother me.
Okay, because Queen Victoria literally never stopped fucking Albert for a single second her whole life. Queen Victoria was getting it on. She's just like, get it, girl. Love that.
I know. Queen Victoria was just like relatable. Anyway, I mean, okay, here's some actual foreshadowing. 1841. So she's like 20 years old, and she retroactively, we know that this is when she showed the first signs of vulgar history's traditional malady, tuberculosis.
There it is.
Yep. So the vibes are a bit Satine and Moulin Rouge.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so her first public, other than Dr. Véron, her first publicly known lover was Louis-Philippe's son, François de Bourbon-Orléans, the Prince de Joinville. With the beard, the head of the Napoleon body gets returned party parade. He was about her same age. Nice for a change.
Love that.
He was also a painter, which I like. There's like a painting of Napoleon, the Napoleon funeral parade, and it's like done by him, and it is of him.
Yay. He's just like, I was there. This is my selfie.
This is what I look like. Anyway, he seems like an okay person. So apparently, allegedly, they met because he sent a note to her backstage that said basically where and when. And she sent a note back being like, my place tonight.
Oh my God, it's so juicy. I love it.
Yeah. So, but you know, in French. Chez
moi.
Chez moi, ce soir. Anyway.
She literally looked this man in the eyes and went, voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
She did. Moulin Rouge.
There we go.
Anyway, so she wrote to him, like they wrote letters. These still exist, I think. He called her his old Rachel, and she called him my old dog. Anyway, they were just like, whatever. So they were together for a while, but like even long after their breakup, she kept his affectionate final breakup letter from her. And she wrote on it, like he wrote a letter being like, it's over. I'm sorry, on a Post-it or whatever. And she wrote on that letter from him, you take with me my first, my last love. I will live, I will love, never again.
Aw, sweetie.
Don't worry, she does.
Liar, but sweet.
Yeah. So he also remembered her fondly. And this is what we're going to see. Like she was always on good terms with all of her lovers. Like she stayed friends with all of them, even though like old men, like Dr. Veron, who like did the affair of the letters, they were still cool. Like she was just like great ongoing relationships with all of the lovers. Now, the amount of lovers does become similar to on Our Flag Means Death, Spanish Jackie and her husbands. Is kind of the vibe because there's so many lovers. They call themselves like the Cercle de Rachel, like the Rachel Circle.
They unionized? Yay!
So there's no jealousy.
They got their own group chat.
It's like, okay, I'm seeing her Monday, you're seeing her Tuesday. Like,
yes.
It was also just like French and civilized and polyamorous and just like everyone was on board. It was said Rochelle had 2 bracelets made from all of the rings given to her by her various lovers. And the rings were so big that she could only wear one of the bracelets at a time because the bracelet was so heavy. And then she played, so she's just killing it. She's playing all these, she played Fredegond, all these different roles. Her most famous role is Phaedra in the play Phaedra. Like there's statues of her as Phaedra. This became like her, like, this is what she's best known for, playing Phaedra, which is a mythological person, I assume. In 1843, Rochelle took a new lover, who is Count Walewski, Napoleon's illegitimate Polish son.
Check.
Are you familiar with Napoleon's illegitimate Polish son?
I was not at this point, no.
I wasn't sure. Okay, so Alexandre Florian Joseph, Count Kolona Walewski, was born near Warsaw in Poland. His mother was Countess Marie Maluska, and her husband was this guy, Count Walewski, but everyone knew Napoleon was the father of this baby. Like, never formally acknowledged, but everybody knew. Anyway, he was boring, and she didn't like him, but she has this Napoleon fetish we're discovering. Anyway, so she's just like, Napoleon's son? Yes, I'm going to add him to my circle of lovers. So anyway, Count Walewski, he tried to do like a makeover on her, where he's just like, I'm going to teach you how to be like a fancy lady. And she's like, He tried
to My Fair Lady her. Yes. And she was like, bitch, no, I'm already more successful than you.
I'm Rochelle, just speaking of her name. So when she was going to acting child star school, she went by Elisa Saint Felix, was her like Christian name.
That sounds like the kind of name I would have come up with when I was trying to come up with a pen name as a child.
Yeah. So, but then when she signed her contract with the Comédie Française, she's like just Rochelle, which was also really notable and interesting because Rochelle, like Rachel, is like a Jewish name. Like now it's like maybe not automatically seen as a Jewish name, but then in France,
but at the time, yeah,
it was a super Jewish name, and she could have not had that be her name, but she's like, no, I am Rochelle, like I am Jewish. Like her Jewishness was always an important part of her. And it also sort of like in terms of building her celebrity brand made her like exotic or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they lived together, her and Count Walewski. They lived together in his like fancy place. The silver and the china of the household had her symbol on it, which was the single letter R with a buckled belt. R with a belt is her inscription for herself. Anyway, and they started having a salon. And so everybody, because she was so fun and cool to be around, she told these jokes. So like all the cool people came to hang out at their salon. She had a friend who was this lady writer / journalist, Delphine de Girardin, who was moved to write a new play, casting her as the biblical heroine Judith, famously the beheader of Holofernes, my tattoo I have on my arm. Anyway, so to celebrate this role of a famous stabbing person, Rochelle laid out a display of ceremonial daggers in her home at her salon.
But I could stab any one of you if you wanted me to.
Yeah, so iconic. So she gave birth to a son who was Alexandre Antoine Cologne. Count Walewski is the father's child, making this baby Napoleon's grandson.
Mission accomplished, Rochelle.
This time period where she's with Count Verlusky holding the salons is around the same time Lola Montez was in Paris fucking critics and dancing at the opera. They had to have known about each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I hope so.
Like the critics that Lola Montez was fucking for good reviews, like Rochelle would have heard that there's this horrible dancer on stage at the Paris Opera. Like,
they're in the same town.
They're running in the same circles. It's like George Sand is there. Victor Hugo is there. Like, these are the people Lola Montez hung out with. Like, it's all one circle. Like,
I hope they got coffee one afternoon and we're just like, you know what? You got any tips?
The dirtbag energy. And this is where I thought about, like, the two of them being born so close together. Like, Lola Montez, she was untrained and terrible at performing, and yet that was compelling. But then Rochelle was so well trained. It's like they're really a yin yang sort of situation.
Yeah.
And they're both successful in different ways. Anyway, so at one point, speaking of this circle of people, so Alexandre Dumas, the main one, not the dad, the one who wrote, what was his famous book? Three Musketeers?
The Three Musketeers one? Yeah.
So he's there being this notable wit. Like, he's part of these like gatherings. And he wrote to her being like, can I join your circle of lovers? Here's my official application.
I have 20 years of experience. Here are 3 references. Here's my union card.
Yeah. But so the same thing that she did with the breakup letter. Like, so he wrote a letter being like, please, can I be your lover? And she wrote back on that same letter and returned it to him saying like, I am returning this letter that you clearly wrote by mistake.
Yes, girl.
And that he then became a hater, as shitty people would. It's just like, no, just be cool and you can join the circle of lovers. But anyway, so he criticized her for like, how dare she go perform plays in other places? She's disloyal to France, blah, blah, blah.
She just didn't want to fuck you, man.
Yeah. She toured around the UK, including in Glasgow, which was notable because a notice about her coming to perform there, like, listen, I know nobody here speaks French, but you don't need to.
However, she's so intense. It's fine.
You'll understand it. Regardless, it's like watching an action movie. So, but this like thing in the newspaper in Glasgow said, you will learn more French from seeing her perform for 1 hour than you would from a year of French lessons.
Okay. Bold claim.
Yeah. But I love that she's performing everywhere, but only ever in French. And people are just like still going, even if they don't know French.
Like, yeah, I'm in. Let's do it.
Anyway, so then she and Count Verlusky were like basically monogamous when they were together, but then she got bored. And then she seduced this guy called Émile de Girardin, the husband of her friend who wrote the Artemisia, the Judith play.
Ouch.
But I think everyone's just like cool. They're all just fucking each other.
No, they're fine. I think you can have this husband for a while. I don't need him.
Okay, but Allison, for your tally, this guy is known as the Napoleon of the press. He's a newspaper guy who dressed like Napoleon 24/7.
What? Okay. I thought you were going to be like, he was a no holds barred journalist who would go in and get the truth even if they didn't want you to.
No.
You meant he was like the guy in my college dorm who dressed up like Jesus sometimes. And we called him Squad Jesus.
Yeah, he would wear Napoleon cosplay and like brush his hair like Napoleon, put his hand in his front shirt.
In the yeah.
So, I mean,
we both just tried to put our hands through the buttons of our shirts.
But if we know something about Rochelle, she's just like, oh my God, that guy looks kind of like Napoleon. I have to fuck that guy.
My favorite kind of man. Vaguely Napoleonic.
Yeah. So this guy, the Napoleon of the press, he had famously killed a man in a duel.
Wait, no, I'm so sorry. I just realized what the Napoleon of the press reminds me of, and it's the Napoleon of crime, McCavity from the musical Cats.
Rochelle would have fucked him too.
I know! It's Idris Elba, we all would.
But this guy also, Napoleon of the press, just another standout detail about him, is he kept alphabetized dossiers on everyone important he knew in case he had to blackmail them one day.
Yeah, I love this man.
I feel like I started making dossiers myself of all of the lovers, but then I'm just like, there's not enough hours in the day to explain to you how interesting all 4 lovers were. Anyway, and then Rochelle was also maybe lovers with his wife who wrote the play for her. So everyone's just fucking everyone.
Love it.
That's what's happening.
Perfect.
Anyway, but not great at this point because Count Verlusky heard about her having lovers again. So he took their 15-month-old son, but then eventually returned the baby and then married someone else. And
I'm sure he's like, actually, I do not want to take care of
you.
It's for you now.
Anyway, so Rochelle just went on she never had another monogamous relationship, I don't think. She wrote, I am free and intend to remain free. I will have renters, but not owners.
Oh, yes.
So, which I love. She also, one of her mottos is apparently, I love to be loved as I love when I love.
I think that's a quote from Moulin Rouge, probably.
Sounds like it. Actually, I will have renters but not owners is very like Satine coded from Moulin Rouge. Except she never met Ewan McGregor and she's just like, I'm going to fuck anyone. And everyone's like, that's great. Guess who loves you? France. Okay, 1847, the Russian writer Alexander Herzon wrote, quote, her acting is fascinating. While she is on stage, no matter what happens, you cannot take your eyes off her. This weak and fragile being dominates you. I cannot imagine that anyone would not abandon himself to her power during the performance. I imagine I can still see that proud pout, that sharp, whip-like gaze. Like, whatever she's doing these performances, it's like...
She is killing it.
Like, intense. The intensity. Anyway, so then she took as another lover this guy called Arthur Bertrand, who had been in the Napoleon funeral procession.
Check.
Because his dad had been Napoleon's steward, Arthur had been born in St. Helena.
I feel like I should check twice.
Yeah.
But I'm not going.
Yeah. This is what we just recorded another thing a bit ago. And I was like, there's someone with Darnley energy. And who was it? This guy. So he asked her for money all the time. And when she didn't give him money, he would steal it from her.
Yep. That's a thing Darnley would do.
That is the Darnley vibe. But anyway, she loved him because his main hobby was Napoleon.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He just like obsessing about Napoleon. So did she. And that's what happened. Anyway, so then she got pregnant again by this guy. But she toured England and Scotland while pregnant, doing her hand gestures. And while pregnant, touring England and Scotland, she embarked on 2 parallel affairs with 2 men who were cousins of each other. One of whom is the man who would later become Emperor Louis Napoleon.
No! Yes!
And his cousin, Prince Napoleon, known as Plon Plon.
Sorry, I didn't know that, but it's funny to hear it out loud.
Are you familiar with these people?
I knew that name because it's really hard not
Yeah,
to.
Plon Plon. Also called Nap, but I'm calling him Plon Plon, obviously. Okay, so this is 2 more for your tally sheet. But
oh yes, I've got them.
So for
I'm really hung up on Plon Plon. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not stopped talking about Plon Plon. I'm going to explain who everybody is. So these 2 guys, who she met while pregnant, touring her plays in England, they met like on a train.
Was Campbell Shanks driving the train?
Driven by the Napoleon of crime, Idris Elba. Okay, so the first guy, Charles Louis Napoleon Bonaparte. His father was Louis Bonaparte, the younger brother of Napoleon. So this guy is Napoleon's nephew. But also his mother was the daughter
this is so messy!
of Napoleon's wife, Josephine, from her first marriage.
Right.
So this guy's basically, I don't know. This is like, she has fucked so many Napoleon adjacent people. It's like when you put it all together.
Who have also fucked Napoleon adjacent people.
Yeah.
Because I think he was also just like, who I should definitely sleep with is I think it must have been
my sister and
cousin?
oh my God. It's just like,
I don't know. Everyone's name is Louis, so it's really hard to track.
So we're calling this guy CL, Charles Louis Napoleon Bonaparte.
Okay.
CL. The other guy we're calling by his own nickname, Plon Plon.
Because what else could we possibly call him?
So CL was born in 1808. So he's like 15 years older than Rochelle. Plon Plon was born 1 year after Rochelle. So close. They're all like adults, whatever. So his name was Prince Napoleon Joseph Charles Paul Bonaparte, usually called Napoleon Jérôme Bonaparte or Jérôme Bonaparte. He was the second son of Napoleon's youngest brother. So these guys are both the sons of Napoleon's brothers. His popular nickname Plon Plon stemmed from his difficulty in pronouncing his own name while still a child, which I'm going to say his name was Napoleon Joseph Charles Jérôme. It's like, yeah, that is...
It was a lot.
Plon Plon.
For a child.
So that's allegedly why he's called Plon Plon, but some other historians and contemporary letters suggest it was because he ran in cowardice during battle when the bombs fell. But what does that have to do with Plon Plon? I don't know. Of these 2 guys, Plon Plon was cooler.
Despite everything you just said.
Despite being called Plon Plon. Well, what does that say about CL?
Yeah, not a lot.
Anyway, so Plon Plon was really into classical art, and he commissioned a replica of a Greek temple for Rochelle, which is still a place, I think, which has a big mural of Rochelle in it. They were also like wildly rich. So anyway, then she had her son, because remember, she's been pregnant this whole time. So her second son, the father was Arthur, the Darnley guy. And the son was called Gabriel Victor Felix. So she gave him her own surname, I guess, because of illegitimacy reasons. But it was interesting because so she had two sons. They're both baptized Christian, interestingly. But one was like the son of a count, Napoleon's grandson. And the other one is like the son of the guy who was born on St. Helena. So like one of her sons was like really wealthy and one of her, based on the dad, and the other son was like a normal citizen son.
Right.
Anyway, so now it's 1848. Revolution is occurring.
Yep. This is revolution number 3, I think.
Yeah.
4? It's hard to say. We've done a lot at this point. But this is the, what do they call this one?
The Les Miserables one.
No, we've already passed that.
Oh, did we? Oh, okay.
Nothing happened.
This is, so what happened here, and this might have been copy pasted from your notes you gave me. So the king, Louis Philippe, the citizen king, abdicated.
He abdicated because the alternative was they were going to murder him, and he would prefer not to do that. He kind of like, it's February Revolution. I forgot the month. This is the February Revolution. February 1848. Paris is like, I really hate Louis Philippe. We've actually hated him for 18 years, but now we're going to finally do something about it. And he says, okay, fuck, I will get out of town. Bye.
But this is like the second one you've talked about who, like, having seen their own family be guillotined pretty recently, was like, I'm just going to leave. Like, I'm going to just...
You know what? And more power to them for that. They're like, nah, y'all have it. Bye.
The energy, we've talked about this, maybe it was in the Napoleon episode or something, but just the energy of France as a country to just riot at the drop of a hat.
At the drop of a fucking hat.
It's still going on. Remember, like last year or something, when there's those pictures of people drinking champagne in a restaurant and outside, it's like mayhem and things are on fire. It's just like, that's just the French way. They just like, oh, was it they were rioting because they're like, how dare you decrease the mandatory retirement age? Like, yeah, like this is still the vibe of France, I think.
Increase, I'm sure, the retirement age.
Increase.
Although if you want to decrease my retirement age, that would be
I think they were rioting because they didn't want to decrease it.
Really? Okay.
I forget.
You know, why not?
Anyway, so they rioted. It's 1848. CL, so her lover, she met on the train, the cousin of Plon Plon, came back to Paris. Elections happened, and he became the first ever president of France. But he was like, I prefer Prince-President. I'll be the Prince President.
And they're like, no, but okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So after the Citizen King, now it's the Prince President. And when his term ended, he was like, what if I stay being Prince President? And then he did. And he's like, let's just make this official and change my title to Emperor Napoleon.
And then I'm over here like, God damn it, we already did this once with an Emperor Napoleon. Why is there another one? But there is Napoleon III.
So the Comédie Française, which you'll recall was the official French theater invented by the Sun King, was briefly renamed Theater of the Republic because they're like, we're a republic now. And they're like, Rochelle, we need you to act because we need ticket sales are down, Rochelle, because there's like a revolution.
Yeah, people are building barricades. They're not coming to the theaters.
And she's like, I just gave birth.
Please. I'm so tired.
I just gave birth. I'm having so many lovers. I just got 2 more. One of them's the emperor now, I guess. She's like, I need 6 weeks maternity leave is what she specified. Anyway, so what happened? And this is a picture I sent you. So she's like, okay, fine, I'll return. So they were doing a play. And in the middle of the play, she came out in her toga and she recited the lyrics of La Marseillaise, the French national anthem.
Classic Casablanca move.
She didn't sing it. She recited it with hand gestures intensely, ending with her dropping to one knee while holding a flag, which is one of the pictures I sent you. Everyone lost their mind. They rioted. They were just like, Rochelle, sing the Marseillaise.
We haven't rioted in 6 weeks, and then you held up a flag. Time to go.
But it's Rochelle. And so she became like the symbol of the revolution and of France itself. I think this is where the story started being built of her like Jesus-like birth and being saved by the dog, because they're all just like, she is France.
Look at her. She has a flag.
So then the theater was like, this is great. Ticket sales are up. Rochelle, can you just recite La Marseillaise 37 more times? And she's like, sure. So she just started just reciting the Marseillaise. Everybody lost their mind. She went around and did fundraisers for the Republic, organized by George Sand. And all she would do is she would do this, go down on one knee, and everybody would lose their mind. It's kind of like, I don't know, like when Lil Nas X was doing Old Town Road.
You just show up in like a gymnasium of children or like, yes!
While she herself is being like, I'm really tired of doing this.
Yeah.
The Republic they sponsored her tour to tour around other parts of France to do the Marseillaise, because this was like getting people like to support them as the government. At one point, her carriage fell off the road. Soldiers helped her out, and they're like, can you say the Marseillaise to us? And she did.
Can you do the thing?
Anyway, but while touring, she donated money to the unemployed. She paid a visit to condemned murderess Marie Lafarge in jail, who is dying of tuberculosis, coincidentally. And apparently this is because Rochelle was preparing to play Medea, I think. And she's like, I want to talk to an actual person who actually killed people. So like, I'll go talk to her. Anyway, this all just made people be like, yes, look at her, Princess Diana, visiting the poor, etc. And she later clarified she didn't actually care if there is a king or a republic, but she knew that reciting La Marseillaise kept the theater and her making money during a chaotic time. So she was like happy to do it. Although she did also say she yearned for a king to take over from the republic to save her from having to keep doing the Marseillaise for the rest of her life.
I'm sorry, that's so funny.
No, it's great. She's funny, but she's also pragmatic. Like this is like she's good.
I'll keep doing it, but goddamn, I'm tired.
Yeah. Anyway, so CL, her lover, is Emperor Napoleon III. There was a gala. She's like, oh my God, yes, I'm going to retire the Marseillaise. Great. So she came out during the gala with a flag, and everyone's like, oh, is she going to do the thing?
Is she going to do the flag?
But then she recited not the Marseillaise. She recited something else, and that kind of helped to rebrand her and the new empire.
I love that she did a soft launch of a new bit.
So Plon Plon stayed on as one of the closest advisors to Napoleon III. Plon Plon also, note, had a long-standing relationship with the courtesan Cora Pearl, who is on my list of people to talk about another day. But I just want to say, like, Lola Montez, Rochelle, and Cora Pearl were all in the same circle, and that's the tits out energy of that is unsurpassed. Anyway, so Napoleon III, CL, brought the French state theater under much stricter control, and Rochelle benefited greatly because just before this revolution had happened, she had been in these kind of like contract negotiations where she wanted more money, and they're like, no, we're a union, we share it all. And she's like, I'm Taylor Swift and I need more money. And they're like, but do you? But anyway, then there was a revolution, and then the theaters were taken over by her lover. and he was like, guess what? Guess what?
I'm the emperor now. She gets more money.
Yeah. So she had a voice in selecting the new theater director, and she negotiated a new contract in which she was required to perform only 48 times a year.
That still seems like a lot.
Yeah. Imagine how much it was before. So basically she went from being a like contract member to being sort of like a casual employee.
Okay.
So I think she lost out on the pension, but this meant that she was able to go on longer, more profitable tours abroad. At one of these shows, one of her tours, she wrote in a letter to one of her lovers, was it I who aroused the public or the public who aroused me? I don't know. All I know is we were both hot.
What a weird fucking thing to say.
Yeah. She's amazing. Okay, so in her new post the Marseillaise era, she pivoted. She did. She soft launched, and then she pivoted to a new era of performing contemporary dramas. Not toga plays with hand gestures, but like saying lines that don't rhyme. Her first such role was as Thisbe in Angelo by her rejected lover, Victor Hugo.
So, did you reject Victor Hugo too?
Oh, no, sorry. It was the other one. It was Alexandre Dumas. You're right. Sorry, I confused the two.
I was going to say, I feel like Victor Hugo would have taken rejection really badly, though. He was
yeah. I think, and I think there was rumors that they were lovers, and they probably were at this time.
They probably were. Yeah, he would have loved that.
What's one more at this point? Lover for her, I mean.
What's one more, Victor Hugo? Really?
So her character in this was a Venetian courtesan, and she wrote that this character could only be played by a woman such as herself, who had risen from miserable poverty to sleep on satin sheets. Oh, her friend Delphine /lover / she was also the lover of her husband, the Napoleon of the press.
Mm-hmm.
When that person died, it was Delphine who wrote her the play where Rochelle played Cleopatra. And so Rochelle sent her a wreath with a card that said, to Delphine from Cleopatra. There were also other rumored female lovers like George Sand, famous pants-wearing person. So The lovers were of all genders, apparently. Lovers circle, everyone welcome.
Very inclusive union, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, so her style of just like having a circle of lovers led to people spreading wild stories about her sexual veracity. Like there's a rumor that she traveled with a bed in her carriage so she could fuck people while going place to place, which
I hope she did.
She grew up in a caravan that was also a house. So like, that's not that weird, really. Anyway, she's also known for getting her lovers to give her expensive gifts, and then she gave them away or sold them. So this is another thing where people were like, she loved expensive things. She had a real eye for like aesthetics and like I think in a way, psychologically, maybe from being really, really, really poor, she loved expensive stuff. Like she couldn't get enough of it. And that's where people are like, because she's Jewish. But it's like, no, because she likes the finer things in life. And she grew up poor. So like, whatever.
But she's a dirtbag. It's a separate issue.
Yeah. There was one of her things she had was a crown. And there's
yes, queen.
There was 6 jewels across the front. And it was like a ruby, then an amethyst, then a something. There was like Rachel. Like each of the jewels started with the letter.
She had like a Thanos infinity gauntlet of a crown with her name on it?
Yeah.
Bitch, yes.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Like, this story it keeps getting better. Like, she's great. Right? When you were like, okay, a Jewish person in 19th century France, could you have imagined?
This legend just having the best time, not letting anyone get to her, getting a crown monogrammed with her initials.
Yeah.
Here for it.
Oh my gosh. So she also, she had upended the way people viewed these classical tragedies that she often performed, because it used to be like, oh, this is a play by Moliere or whatever. But now it's like, it's a Rachel. Like it became about her. Like it was female centered instead of, without changing the script, she made it be about her and about the female characters instead of about the like famous man who wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so she had been performing abroad for years. By the 1850s, she's like 30, like, because her career began age 15, if you'll recall. And she was instantaneously the most famous Best Actress ever. Anyway, so the distances, she was able to go further and for longer because she didn't have to perform as much. So in 1851, during one of her tours in London, she went to London every year, I think, Charlotte Bronte saw her perform.
Ooh.
Are you familiar with the novel Villette by Charlotte Bronte?
I have not read it, to my shame, but is it about her?
Kinda. There's a character in Villette who is an actress whose name is Vashti, which is a Jewish name from the Bible. And she describes, it's like, and this actress, she was so intense.
She was so intense.
It blew my mind. I didn't speak French. So anyway, so this is part of like Rochelle like shows up in this novel. Okay, in 1853, she performed in Moscow. And in 1855, she embarked on a tour of America.
Classic Lola Montez move.
Yeah, exactly. Lola Montez dead by now. Oh, no. Wait, I think Lola Montez might have been in America simultaneously. Anyway, here's another example. Rochelle wrote, when she wrote letters about herself, she used the royal we when talking about herself. When she wrote from America, she wrote, "What can I tell you about our triumphs? They continue to be as great as our gifts are."
No.
I wrote a humble queen.
Humble queen, yes.
And she is. She's the best actress ever. And she knows it. And I think that made some people uncomfortable that she wasn't humble or whatever. Anyway, so her lover, member of Lover's Circle, Napoleon III, CL, was the emperor. And she would still come hang out with him sometimes. And the guards would be like, hey, girl, that's okay. Go on in. Like she would still just go by to fuck him every now and then. She taught his wife, Eugenie, how to curtsy properly. And then the Empress Eugenie requested Rochelle perform the Mary Queen of Scots play. And Rochelle was like, Mary annoys me. I am going to do a different play.
Damn.
And Eugenie was like, okay.
That's fair. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I mentioned she went to Moscow, and doubling back because this is interesting. And I feel like this is something you know about. So 1853, she accepted an invitation by the Tsar to visit Russia just as the Crimean War was about to start. Paris, a city that is sentient and a character in this story. The fifth girl in Sex and the City, Paris.
Yes.
Paris was mad at her for her disloyalty to like, how dare you, who are France, perform in not France.
Right.
But she was greeted enthusiastically in Russia. They gave her jewels, furs, portraits, and busts of herself.
Which is what this girl wanted, and good for her.
She would have loved, and then she would have sold them.
I feel like she would have kept one bust of herself just for
that's true.
the dime.
Yeah. So the shop started selling powders and pomades called Rochelle.
Her own fragrance?
Yeah. Rochelle. Eau de Rochelle. Anyway, as an example of her famous wit, some Russian soldiers were like, because there's like a war going on between France and Russia. They're like, we look forward to drinking champagne in France soon. And she was like, oh, well, we don't treat our prisoners that well, actually. And France heard she said that, and France was like, hell yeah.
She's on our side again. We're good.
Anyway, she would later exploit her fame from that trip in a new play where she played Catherine the Great. Let's see. So, a person consistently described as her favorite sister, Rebecca, also an actress, died of tuberculosis. And then one of Rochelle's lovers, I haven't mentioned, it's a guy called Michel Levy. No Napoleon connection that I know about, but Michel Levy will come up in a minute. Anyway, so Michel Levy, because Rebecca had also been an actress, so they asked Samson, remember her old mentor, the like head of the Théâtre Française? So they asked Samson to speak at Rebecca's funeral, and he refused due to his grief. Rochelle never forgave Samson for refusing, even though Samson did actually wind up improvising a speech at the funeral.
Oh, I couldn't possibly. Oh, well, just this little something.
Anyway, so Rochelle's tuberculosis progressed. Newspapers around the world breathlessly reported on her illness. How is Rochelle? Rochelle coughed today. In 1855, she caught a cold. So she was in America, your country, your area, the East Coast.
Not my area, but thanks.
Okay, I don't know where Chicago is.
Not on the East Coast.
Isn't it?
No.
But like you go to New York sometimes.
I fly on a plane.
Oh, you fly. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you just like drove. Okay.
No.
Anyway, so she caught a cold on an unheated train between Boston and New York.
Oh, that's a terrible place to be.
So and then she had a cough and I'm saying like she had tuberculosis, blah, blah, blah. But she was like Satine in Moulin Rouge. She was just like, I don't have tuberculosis. Don't say I have tuberculosis. I just have a cough. Just a cough. That's all. Just a cough. So she's like in the US, so the tour not going well. She like caught a chill on this train. And then she wrote a letter. She's like, when you hear me cough, you'd almost think, oh, she has tuberculosis. But don't worry. I don't. Just a cough. Because the train was cold. Not tuberculosis at all. Don't worry about it. Anyway, so upon doctor's advice, like, what's his name from Tombstone? Val Kilmer?
Doc Holliday.
Doc Holliday. So in the movie Tombstone, which we've discussed in Vulgar Peace Theater, Doc Holliday goes to Arizona because the air is more dry and hot. Anyway, the doctors told her the same thing. So she went to Cuba and then to Egypt to try and, because that's good for people's tuberculosis, I guess.
And if you want to cosplay Cleopatra a bit more.
She did. She wrote a letter to one of her sons where she's like, I'm writing to you, like, once I played Cleopatra and now I'm like on the same river where she once was. Maybe there's grains of sand in this letter that she once touched, you know. Anyway, she returned to France and she is actively dying. She stayed in a villa in southern France where she wrote farewell letters to her sons, her family members, her lovers.
That must have taken forever.
There's a lot of lovers. Colleagues, other actors. She wrote a will circumventing French law to leave more money to her sons than she was allowed to do legally. And then, I'm so sorry to say, Rochelle died. January 4th, 1858 of tuberculosis, age 36. 3 years later, Lola Montez died, also of tuberculosis.
God damn.
Tuberculosis.
What a time.
Yeah.
What a time.
But the world couldn't live with just one of them, you know? Lola and Rochelle. Okay, so her funeral was a huge deal.
I bet it fucking was.
Oh, she got a state funeral. So she died in the south of France. And then her body was processed to Paris, stopped in Marseille for the Grand Rabbi to oversee a funeral in the train station, where the actors of the Grand Theatre of Lyon, remember she started off there, attended to pay homage. Then the remains were taken to her old flat in Paris, where a huge crowd stood waiting. Some climbed the trees to be able to see the coffin. The coffin proceeded behind 11 guardsmen on horseback, followed by 30 on foot. Behind the hearse walked Grand Rabbi Isidore of Paris, some members of Rachel's family, and representing all of the lovers, one of her most faithfully devoted lovers, Michel Levy.
Aww.
So this is where it just
they sent the union rep to the funeral.
That's the thing. It's like he's like the main lover. He's like the shop steward of the lovers.
So sweet.
I just love that he was walking behind on behalf of all the lovers, which is where I think of like Spanish Jackie from Her Flight Means Death.
Yes.
Behind them walked members of the Comédie Française, then the personnel of the theater, then representatives of the government. They're all walking. Then 600 carriages, and 30 to 40,000 people on foot.
Jesus Christ.
By the time they reach the cemetery, there are over 100,000 mourners present. This is what I want for all of the people I talk about on this podcast. This. You know, when
Yes.
people, it's like, and we don't know where her bones are. We don't know where she's buried. No, I want this. One of her pallbearers was Alexandre Dumas.
The guy who she said, I will not sleep with you?
Yeah, he said, even I was like, why did you ask me? And then I was like, because I'm me, or something like that. But each pallbearer represented a different artistic muse. And he was there to represent literature. She had died without making amends with her teacher, her mentor, Samson. Remember, because he said he wouldn't speak at her sister's funeral? So he was the head of the Comédie Française. And because she died angry. So there was no eulogy given at her funeral on behalf of the Comédie Française because he was not allowed to because she was mad at him. There were 3 eulogies. One was given by the Grand Rabbi Isidore, who praised her commitment to Judaism, which reminds me that when she was in Egypt, I guess some people came up to her on the train and they're like, want to convert to be Christian? And she's like, get me off this train. Anyway, so Rochelle is buried in a beautiful tomb that says just Rochelle. And I'll put a picture on Instagram, but I sent it to you, Allison. I just love it's just a tomb and it says like literally Rachel.
It's amazing.
Rochelle. That's it. So she's buried in the Jewish section of Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris, which is near where there is a street named after her, Avenue Rochelle. Her portrait hangs in a very prominent place at the Théâtre Français, which is still a place, I guess. Her parents outlived her, living the rest of their lives on the estate Rochelle had bought them in the village of Montmorency. So her son, by Count Walewski, her son, Napoleon's grandson, went on to have a career as a diplomat. Her other son, by the Darnley guy, served in the Navy. So they both did fine for themselves. And I mean, honestly, when someone dies of tuberculosis, it's like the end.
Yep. Boop. Okay.
Sorry, but quite a funeral. So it's time to score this icon. Rochelle. I mean, she gets bonus points for having no surname. Because
yes, 100%.
Oh, actually, first, was there anyone supporting performance Jewel Tortoise Award? I think the lovers communally.
I mean, they knew their place and they stayed in it, and I respect that for them. But I really feel like Rochelle would be offended by giving anyone a supporting performance award.
Actually, you're right. You're right. People came to see her.
No. There was one performance, and it was moi. It was me.
You are absolutely correct. Okay, so Rochelle, Scandaliciousness.
I think this is her highest score.
Yeah.
Surely. Right.
I think it's hard because I don't, like, the culture around her seemed cool with her having all these lovers. Would they have been that cool about anyone? Or was it just because she was Rochelle and she represented France and drama that they were cool with it?
I think she was just so dramatic that they were like, this is fine.
Yeah, because I feel like I want to give her a really high score for scandaliciousness because, like, the circle of lovers, like getting 2 new lovers who were both cousins while you're pregnant in another country, and then one of them becomes the emperor, and then
you kneel down with a flag and the entire country of France goes into a riot.
Yeah.
By the way, final tally of Napoleon adjacent lovers was 6. 6.
That to me feels scandalous as well. Like 2 sons out of wedlock, which is not for the morals of the day. Like to Queen Victoria was like, that's cool, girl. Like she was cool. And so people weren't like, Herman, my pills, because she was. Anyway, I'm giving her 10 for scandaliciousness because I love her. And
I support it.
That is what she gets. Scheminess. Asterisk, not in an anti-Semitic way.
I think medium to high for her here too, right? Because she was like, I am going to position myself to be in the right place at the right time so that my unique, weird-ass self can become the most famous woman in this city. I went from used clothes peddler getting caught by a dog to state funeral with 100,000 mourners.
Yeah. Well, and also the way that she was like, I'm going to sell this guitar. Like, I'm going to, like, she's always she's like, I can't tour enough with this contract, so I'm going to make a new contract. Like, she always had an angle in an admirable way.
I can't get enough money out of this contract. Let me make the emperor my lover. Maybe that will help.
I feel like she was always coming up with some sort of scheme in the most admirable, dogged way. Like, if I compare her to Kim Kardashian in a positive manner, it's that same thing where she's just
You're building the empire.
Yeah, where you're just like, okay, I can monetize this. I can monetize this. Like Rochelle face powder, Rochelle perfume. Like she's always, and it all paid off. And then she schemed to like leave her sons more of an estate than she's legally allowed to. Like she was always scheming, like in an impressive way. I don't know if it's just because it's the festive holidays, but I'm just like 10.
Do it.
10.
Do it. I think those are her two categories. So I feel comfy giving her full scores.
Significance. Now, her here, it's always tricky, but like her significance at the time was major. Like that funeral shows how significant she was. She saved classical French repertoire or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. Like she has a street named after her. She was so famous in her time, and
this is whatever we gave Lola Montez for significance. I feel like Rochelle has the same kind of significance, which is what a legend at the time.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I feel it's a funny category. I'm just trying to find. I have a list of like what scores people have, so I can see what we gave her.
Oh, probably not breakouts though, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Significance is kind of there to give points to people who don't have points anywhere else. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how significant can a person be who is like an actress in France? Lola Montez, we gave a 4 for significance.
Okay.
That must have been a real conversation.
Lola Montez, I almost said Lola Montez never fucked an emperor, but JK, yes, she did.
She did. I think I will give her also a 4 because I think just the similarities between the two of them are so extreme. The sexism bonus, actually, that's interesting. Let me see, because she had a lot stacked against her. Woman, Jewish, actress, poor, skinny. That was another thing I didn't even talk about, but like the beauty...
Bag of bones,
The beauty standard at the time was not bag of bones, and that's what she was bringing to the party.
And she said, guess what else I'm bringing to the party? Intensité!
Have you watched, there's this show on Netflix called Bodies that is a murder...
I have not seen it.
It's a murder mystery show. So, of course, I watched it. One of the actresses in it, I was watching it while I was researching this, and she's an actress called Shira Haas. She was also in another thing. Anyway, she's a Jewish actress. And I was watching her, and I was like, Jewish actress? And she's so small, Shira Haas. Like, they exacerbate it for dramatic purposes, but I was Googling. I'm just like, what is this person's height? It's 5'2", which is not that short. But I'm just like, wait, bag of bones? Jewish actress? Rochelle?
Rochelle?
And she is really good and intense in it. Anyway, but yeah, so I don't know that sexism got in Rochelle's way whatsoever.
I think
frankly.
Rochelle looked at sexism and said, how can I monetize this?
Yeah.
And then did monetize it.
Basically, we gave Lola Montez a 3 for sexism. And Rochelle, that's the thing. Like, there were these things that would have been challenges that did get in her way, but they didn't because she had this...
She was just so determined to do it.
Yeah. So I don't think sexism got in her way, which is good. You know, bad for a score, but good.
I'm happy for her.
Good for a person. I don't know. I feel like 2 or a 3 or something. Like,
I would say 2. I feel like sexism got in her way less than it did for Lola Montez.
It did. Like Rochelle,
like, everyone loves me. I'm beloved national icon Rochelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it truly. There was never like she was pregnant, but that didn't get in her way. Like she
had lovers, and everyone was like, "That's great. Love that for you."
Like it truly, I don't like being a woman was not really an obstacle to her. Frankly, she succeeded so well. I don't want to say that nothing was an obstacle to her, but there was no obstacle she did not overcome except tuberculosis.
Yes.
So that gives her higher than usual for an episode you're on. 26. And that's amazing. Just a sec. Rochelle. I'm just writing in her name. Easy to type. One word. 26 is like one of the most common scores on Vulgar History. Like the Allison neighborhood is like 23.
For newcomers to the podcast, every episode I'm on, the person we talk about scores the same score.
Yeah. So Empress Elizabeth of Russia, 23. Lola Montez, 23. Catalina de Eroso, 23.5. Like that's the Allison neighborhood.
I hit a 23 pretty regularly. So 26.
26, Rochelle. Like she pulled it out. 26. So many people have a 26. I'm just thinking of other people. Marie de Guise has a 26, for instance. Let me see. Like, it's just where she belongs, I think. Like, she's around some really strong tits out contenders and a bit higher than the others. Anyway, Allison, thank you so much. I was a ridiculous person for ever imagining this would take less than this amount of time that it took.
We always talk a big game about how long these episodes will take, and every time we are incorrect.
I cut out so much information about the lovers. I had separate Google Docs per lover, and I'm just like, no, we have to focus on Rochelle.
We don't have time.
That's the after show type content, Anne. Anyway, Allison, so quickly, this episode is coming out the first week of December. I think as a great gift anyone could give anyone would be a copy of your book, Let the Dead Bury the Dead.
Yes, it's great for gift giving. It's rectangular and very easy to wrap.
Absolutely. And where can people keep up with you in this diaspora of social media? You know what? You have a website. There's links in your website to where you are, right?
Go to my website, which is AllisonEpstein.com. There are helpful tabs and links to all of the things that I'm doing and all of the places that I am.
Well, and I feel like, especially when I record episodes like a couple weeks in advance, I'm just like, 2 weeks from now, where
will we be? I don't know.
What's even happening?
I will be on my website and you can find me.
And you will be hibernating after your book tour. And
yes, I am not going anywhere. As much as I can, I am not doing anything. It'll be great.
Fabulous. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly could not have done this without you. There's too many Louis. It's a lot. But Rochelle, I mean, overall, what are your thoughts on Rochelle?
What a legend. I wish I could have met her. She would have had no interest in meeting me because I'm not cool enough, but I feel like I would have liked to watch her walk down the street.
With intensity.
With intensity.
On a rendezvous with her lovers. I love the lovers. Like, there's so many great details, but the lovers union is a great detail.
Yes, that's amazing. I love it.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
So, I wanted to let you know for the next little bit what you're going to be hearing in Vulgar History podcast, which is going to be some episodes, brackets, Anne's version. What this means is that I'm going to be taking a few weeks off just to kind of like rest up and recuperate and whatever. And while I'm doing that, I want to be able to give you new episodes or just something to listen to. And what it's going to be is revisiting some of the older episodes. So our faithful editor, Christina, has been editing to improve the sound quality, e.g. remove my mouth noises, try and make the audio better for these earlier episodes. And so we're going to be releasing those one a week with bonus new intros and extras with some information, just catching you up with facts and information I learned after the episode first aired in 2019. And then also for some of these, we're going to be rescoring the people because scoring in the first season, I'm the first to admit, is like really chaotic because I didn't know what to compare people against. And now that we have so many people, some of these are scores I like to revisit. So anyway, so those are little treats for you. So there's always going to be something new for you in the feed. And then in the new year, in 2024, I'm going to be back with new episodes that are going to be a combination of some like a few more reruns, brackets Anne's version, some guests coming on, authors talking about their books, and some episodes that are just me telling you a story. And this is because I'm working on the coming up next year's new season that I'm really excited about. It's going to be a big project. It's going to be on the scale of the Internationale season in terms of just like countries and places. And I need to do a lot of reading about stuff I didn't know about, but I also really know it's important to have episodes every week. So anyway, that's how I figured out a way to do that. So that's what's coming up. And anyway, so just know you'll always get something in this feed every week. And I'll tell you some other things that I like to tell you, which are you can find me on Instagram at Vulgar History Pod. There's merch available. You know, holiday, festive gift giving season is here. Hanukkah starts tomorrow. So you can get merch at vulgarhistory.com/store. Or if you're outside the US for shipping, you can go to vulgarhistory.redbubble.com, has better shipping. You can also gift. You can give somebody a gift of a Patreon subscription. Why not? You can support the podcast on Patreon at patreon.com/AnnFosterWriter. Or for $1 a month, you get early ad-free access to all episodes. And for $5 or more a month, you get early ad-free access to the episodes, as well as bonus episodes. Vulgar Piece Theater, as well as So This Asshole. You also get the after show, lots of things. And I have promised when I get to 500 followers on Patreon, I will do a So This Asshole episode on my personal nemesis, John Knox. Transcripts of recent episodes are available at vulgarhistory.com. Thank you to Evelyn Malik from The Wordery for providing these transcripts. And I also have my gift guide is on the website. So if you're looking for Vulgar History coded things to give people, if you go to Vulgar History Pod on Instagram, in my highlights, I have the gift guide, which has got links to all these great small businesses where you can get stuff like Lola Montez dolls, make your own cat embroidery like Mary Queen of Scots famously had. If you want to get the B hanging, the letter B or a different letter, like Anne Boleyn's necklace. Anyway, I'm just curating stuff that from small businesses because I always like to support small independent businesses at this time of year. And also included in the gift guide, there's a list of recommended books that I've put together that are books, not ones I've talked about on this podcast, although those ones, I also have a list of those if you want to gift, because I recommend all those books. But other books I have listed in the gift guide, as well as if you want to get a cameo from me, if you need a last minute Hanukkah gift or whatever, and you want a gift of a video of me, I'm on Cameo now, so you can do that as well. And then also, always a good gift is jewelry from Common Era Jewelry, which is a 100% woman-owned business using 100% recycled gold. They make their gold pieces made to order, which means there is no waste when you place an order. They make the items, so there's not a lot sitting around unused. Their designs are all inspired by classical mythology, so Rochelle would be on board. Actually, you can get several pieces from Common Era that are of characters portrayed by Rochelle. Cleopatra is there. I feel like Rochelle probably might have played Agrippina at some point, but also people from mythology like Clytemnestra, Phaedra, Medusa, just very Rochelle-coded, actually. And so their pieces are available in solid gold as well and more affordable gold vermeil. And including more recently, they have the Anne Boleyn pendant available in gold vermeil, and Vulgar History listeners can always get 15% off all items from Common Era by going to commonera.com/vulgar or using code VULGAR at checkout. And yeah, there's going to be episodes. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to be hibernating basically. But until next time, everybody, happy festive holiday season and keep your pants on. Oh, and also there's new merch. There's new merch designed by Karen Moynihan from Double Love Podcast that says tits out, or no, it says tits the season. So if you want to get festive holiday merch, literally, you can get that at vulgarhistory.com/shop or in the Redbubble shop. Anyway, pants on, tits out for the holidays, and I'll be back again next week. Au revoir. So again, this episode was recorded a bit ago. Allison's book, Fagin the Thief, is now available. You can get it from wherever you get your books, your ebooks, your audiobooks. Everyone keeps mentioning the audiobook of this. The narrator is so good. He's got this fantastic voice. And I feel like during this Hanukkah season, it would be interesting to revisit or to look at a Charles Dickens character. So many people talk about A Christmas Carol at this time of year, but think about Oliver Twist, think about Fagin. I think this could be a holiday ritual to listen to this audiobook or to read Allison's fantastic book. Visiting Rochelle's tomb in Paris is absolutely on my bucket list. There's so many people on this podcast who I'm always sad at just sort of the way that their stories end. There's not 10,000 people screaming in grief about them, but Rochelle had that. She was that girl, and I love that for her. We talked about some other actresses in the French Revolution season, and none of them had anywhere near Rochelle's success. And it's just such an iconic Vulgar History episode and story, and I'm happy to share this with you again. This time of year is our Hanukkah special. So stay tuned. There's going to be another next week. It'll be our Christmas special because it's going to be Christmas next week, and we're going to be revisiting one new episode, but talking about another iconic all-time Vulgar History heroine, and talking about some new books about an old fave. But until then, I hope you're all doing well and think about Rochelle. Keep your pants on, keep your tits out, do some hand gestures, and just live life to the fullest. Vulgar History is researched, scripted, and hosted by Anne Foster. Editor is Christina Lumagi. Theme music is by the Severn Duo. Regency-era artwork by Karen Moynihan. Social media videos by Magdalena Denson. Transcripts of this podcast are available at vulgarhistory.com by Aveline Malik. You can get early, ad-free episodes of Vulgar History by becoming a paid member of our Patreon at patreon.com/AnnFosterWriter. Vulgar History merchandise is available at vulgarhistory.com/store for Americans and at vulgarhistory.redbubble.com for everyone else. Follow us on social media at Vulgar History Pod. Get in touch with me at vulgarhistorypod@gmail.com.
There are names that echo in the world of true crime, names that carry unanswered questions. Oakley Carlson, a 5-year-old girl who deserved safety, protection, and love, yet the system built to protect her failed, and Oakley disappeared. Her community still calls her name.
Or Ellen Greenberg, found in her locked apartment with 20 stab wounds, a case declared a suicide. But how does a locked apartment tell two different stories at once?
These are not just cases we have covered. They are people. They were loved, and they mattered.
Their stories deserve to be told with care, with depth, with truth.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Ricky.
We are the husband and wife duo behind Crime Salad.
Every week we uncover stories of the missing, the silenced, the misunderstood. We ask the questions that were left behind. We refuse to let these stories be forgotten.
Because behind every case is a family holding on, a community seeking answers, and a story that deserves to be heard.
We invite you to listen to Crime Salad,
your healthy portion of true crime, wherever you get your podcasts.
The war is over, and both sides lost. Kingdoms were reduced to cinders, and armies scattered like bones in the dust. Now the survivors claw to what's left of a broken world, praying the darkness chooses someone else tonight. But in the shadow dark, the darkness always wins. This is old school adventuring at its most cruel. Your torch ticks down in real time, and when that flame dies, something else rises to finish the job. This is a brutal rules-light nightmare with a story that emerges organically based on the decisions that the characters make. This is what it felt like to play RPGs in the 80s, and man, it is so good to be back. Join the Glass Cannon podcast as we plunge into the shadow dark every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/theglasscannon, with the podcast version dropping the next day. See what everybody's talking about and join us in the dark.
Goodbye, Kyle.
Did the sound of those words call to you like Pavlov's dog? Then you might enjoy our podcast, Turtle Time.
Every week, you can join me, Riley Hamilton, and my co-host, Amy Scarlotta, as we cover the most pressing Bravo news and dig into the new episodes to answer important questions like, who the hell is Adrian Malouf in this world?
Listen to Turtle Time on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes every Wednesday and Friday.